There have been about 10,000 executive orders issued over the course of the time period that I was studying, and in the decades since, there have been probably another 600 or 700 issued. I drew a sample from that. Obviously, I didn't have the capability to go through and read and research and do a history of every one, but I drew a statistically valid sample, a random sample, and did a detailed case history of each of the orders in the sample and was able to classify them in terms of subject matter, and most importantly, establish some criteria that I used to determine whether an order was significant. Executive orders and other unilateral actions come across the full range of significance. There are orders that establish commissions to recommend revisions to the American nuclear force posture, which are pretty important. There are also executive orders that tell federal employees they can take the afternoon of December 24th off. Not so important. And so you need to know, I thought it was useful to know which one of these orders were important, what percentage, and it turns out that about 1 in 6 involved what I thought was an important issue, and the rest of them were relatively minor. And then did some regression analysis to determine, I knew how many executive orders the president issued in any month, and we were able to get information on lots of other indicators: the president's popularity, majorities in Congress, state of the economy, whether we were in election year, beginning or end of a president's term, and ran some regression techniques to see what were the underlying causal factors behind the issuance of executive orders. And we found, not what we expected, that unpopular presidents tend to issue more executive orders because they often will have more difficulty convincing Congress to do what they want, and they still continue they need to show that they're active in governing. You see a spate of executive orders at the beginning of a president's term. When they come in the first month, they put their stamp on policy. You see a jump in executive orders at the end of a president's term, especially when there's going to be a party change. And all of these indicators fed back into the original expectation that if these things were truly trivial, that they didn't have any substantive meaning, there'd be no reason to see these jumps, and there'd be no reason for the orders to vary with where we were in a president's term or whether there was an election. The fact that they did move in those kinds of ways suggests very strongly that there is a substantive component. For example, one of the first orders that Obama issued, I think it was on his first or second full day in office, was to order the closure of Guantanamo using a military order. It didn't specify that Guantanamo was hereby closed, but it did specify that within a year he expected it to be closed. And that was important because it was a major campaign promise, and it was a way of establishing right away that he was using the powers of office to make policy that was consistent with his campaign rhetoric. And here we are, almost 2 years later, it's still not closed, which it's a different set of problems. But clearly this was an example of a president relying on the powers of unilateral action to make a statement of policy. And that's something that all presidents do.